so yes, we're back again with the reaction to this morning's Undercover Policing Inquiry hearing, day 6 of Tranche 1, Phase 3. I'm joined with Eveline Lubbers from the Undercover Research Group. Eveline, what did you think of this morning's evidence?
I was amazed by how much this guy remembered of the very details of the procedures and all the stuff he did, the people he worked with, the ones he met in the office and the ones he didn't meet in the office. And then when it came to very, very crucial stuff, like events that happened under his watch, for instance, the demonstration or the confrontation between anti-fascists and the National Front at Red Lion Square, where someone died under his watch. He was too fast, basically, by saying, I don't remember anything. You know, like Red Lion Square, the word doesn't ring a bell. And that is, of course, that was one of the largest events of that decade, if not of all the protests in the 1960s and 70s. So he obviously didn't want to go there, didn't want to talk about it, which is...
Fucking indicts him, doesn't it, massively? Yeah. Like, fucking says it all, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like...
What a bastard.
I think he's very... I didn't look up his age, but he was like very... he had all his wits together. He knew, and I thought he was pretty cocky, sort of arrogant. I think I saw your tweets, and I think you had some sentences that he said all the time.
I dare say that the common sense for the lads.
Yeah, the lads.
It was natural.
Oh yeah, naturally.
Yeah, so that was my main impression. What was interesting is that he was there. Well, I must correct myself because at the same time I was writing a summary of this morning's evidence.
This is a problem we get with a lot of the people who are having to follow the inquiry. There's so much information coming out, both like in front of you and documents being published, that people are constantly trying to...
and they all say almost the same things. That is making it confusing even more. So he was he working he was working in the back office, but when it was at the flat already, because the very first sort of Bill Furner, whose evidence I summarized this morning, he was with the very first group that started infiltrating before the October 1968 demonstration, and at that time they still had their office at New Scotland Yard. So the undercover officers would come in with their longer hair and beards and whatever, which of course presented a risk of them being recognized either by their colleagues or anyone else. And the one thing I picked up from that, if I can tell about that, is that he is one of the only ones who says main part of my job was reading the intelligence that came from the security service, while almost all of the officers and managers that we've heard and that the things that I've been reading say working with the security service was a one-way street. We hoovered up any intelligence that we could get. We just wrote it down. It was not up to us to decide how much and how much detail. We never heard anything back, so we presumed it was okay. And today we heard that 80% of the reports went to the Secret Service because it was more interesting for them than for public order, the public order remit that the SDS officially had.
That does seem...
So there is that information came back, and he said, like, we had a very close relationship, and then he immediately afterwards he said, special branch is police, so they collect intelligence with an idea of making arrest, while the security service is not police, and they don't have these they can't make arrest. Sort of, he said that because officially that is what the difference is, but by explaining how close the relationships were just 5 minutes or 2 minutes earlier in his statement, he sort of undermined what he said there. So there was, the point that I want to make is there was almost all of the information the intelligence, the SDS gathered, went to the security service, but also it was a two-way street. So he literally stated, we're dealing with the same groups, they have the same interests, so we exchange information. I think that was an important thing of a statement that was, and it wasn't included in the summary. It was something I highlighted myself. So yeah, this guy here, he was very good at not saying what he didn't want to say, and he had all his wits together. I don't know how old he was, but yeah. So it's like the questions were kind of good, but he was let off the leash pretty. If he claimed he didn't know anything, he wasn't pushed. Like if activists who are witnesses, like we've seen last week, if they were being pushed about every time the word revolution or revolutionary was mentioned in the reports, even if it was just in discussions or papers, and they were pushed and pushed again. And here, if police witnesses or court participants are being interrogated, it's too heavy a word for what's happening here.
Yeah, I mean, like, very much. It is so noticeable how, like, incredibly significant events are mentioned. The witness just cuts across to go, I don't remember that, and it's just, let's move on. Let's move on straight away. Oh, you can't help us with that.
To say, yeah. So that is kind of disappointing, and it's this weird thing where the non-state participants nobody get to ask their own questions. You have to hand in the questions before, like based on what you have been given to read. And then the inquiry legal team is actually asking the question. It goes for both sides, but not all of them are as good as in sort of really interviewing. Oral history or trying to go into someone's memory is an art in itself. And they, this very young guy whose name escapes me now, but he's just working from his list, like Barr used to do last year. He got much better. It's not interviewing or interrogating. It's not just going, checking off your list, going to the next question. Just listen to what someone says or doesn't say, and then press a bit.
Yeah.
And they know very well how to do that, because that's what they do with our witnesses. And they don't do it with police witnesses, which is a shame, because there's not that many people around who still remember, or who haven't passed away or lost their memories.
Yeah, there's a lot wrong with the process of the inquiry. The next session with Roy Creamer is going to be via video link. We wait and see any thoughts about what he's going to say.
I'm very curious. He's a very interesting person, because I've read his statements, and he is sort of the fountain of knowledge about the anarchist groups and movements, and he's very, very sort of has a high esteem of himself as well. Going like, everybody would always come to me with questions about anarchists, and I wasn't really, I can't remember. I don't think he went undercover himself, but he would give guidance, or his role is a bit like he was a specialist and he was in the back office, but he didn't really have an admin function. He was just and the other thing is, he was involved in investigating. He was leading the intelligence team that finally led to the arrest of the Angry Brigade people. So that's that, and we're still looking into that, because that was sort of the beginning of the bomb squad, where intelligence gathering actually led to arrests, and we still don't actually know what was sort of exactly the relationship between the SDS and the bomb squad.
Yeah. Okay, so join us. We'll be back in the room in about 20 minutes to cover first, if there's any further questions for David Smith, as we've decided to call him, though I've called him Dave Smith in all my tweets today. So Sorry about that, the real Dave Smith. And anybody who might have been confused. I see Alex from Past Tense got confused about that for a bit. But we will. I'm in the co-participants sort of breakout room at the moment, which is meant to be a quiet room, with a number of other people who witnessed what was said this morning. I will see if I can, once they've finished eating, I'll see if I can get any of them to join us. Just quickly, all this bit I've got down the side here, like just in front of all this bit here on the side of the video, is that useful at all? Should I get rid of it? Is it just annoying? I don't know. I mean, like, I was trying to be clever and shit. But yeah, let us know any feedback, please, about how these videos work, and if you want to hear more from certain people or less from me, which I understand, let us know. All right, we'll be back online soon. Cheers.